you have two different styles going on. You have painting.
Yeah, we're
and then
coming
you
up
have,
on an hour. So.
Yeah. So you have painting on your canvases, on your prints, and then you have more like fashion photography.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you kind of like find your style with all of that? Because it's a process.
Man.
It's a big process.
I feel like I'm still not
You're not
fully there on my
Yeah.
style. I'd say there's definitely like a look to mine.
You,
I'll look
you
at,
definitely
like,
have like a solid look going with your stuff. But
it definitely started as like when I first started photography, the Brandy Melville look was like huge. And so like I started to like kind of like edit similar to that, and then I was like, this is cool, but I feel like I'm just copying everything. And then I think just like trying different styles out. Like I feel like you almost look like you shoot on film. Like it looks like that. And I don't know if
that's add noise. The filter
noise.
Yeah.
But I've tried to edit that way, and it just doesn't work for my style. And I think it's just like realizing what kind of photographer you are, and realizing like I think the reason I tried to even edit like that, or similar to like some guys who shoot on film, is because like that's what's like popular or whatever. And I was like, this isn't even like, I don't even like this. Like this doesn't even feel like my style. And I think it was just a lot of trial and error, and I still try different things, and maybe like it'll work, and sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know how I'd say like finding your style. It's just like trying everything and kind of
trying
like,
everything.
Once you find what you like, and then tweak it to make it yours.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think if you put yourself in that headspace and you're just like always trying to like emulate other people and stuff like that, you might come across a style more serendipitously than you thought. Like you might be like, oh, I'm trying for this. And then it just comes when you're doing something random, and then you see what you did and you look at your settings, and you're like, oh, so that's how all these people are doing that. You know what I mean? I'm sure it happens with music too. Like, you know, if you're an EDM artist and you hear something and you're like, oh, I can like make that filter.
You used to say something back when we were around music more, but you said like if you're trying to sound like what's on the radio now, you're already too late. You know, if you're trying to sound like that, that's not going to get you there because it's already out. It's already a thing.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah. I think also, but I think making a derivative is just as good. You know, like there are people that are trying to make music that sounds like stuff that came out like 30 years ago, but like in doing that, they're making a contemporary version. A lot of stuff is rehashing. You know,
I think you can break in being a sounds like artist, but you won't have this legacy that all artists talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
As a sounds like artist, you can find space, but it won't be something remembered. You know, you just think about the saturation of hip hop right now. There are a few standout voices because they are committed to moving us forward versus keeping pace. You know, and it's like, I want to move everyone forward, and that's like the goal with relevance too. Like kind of just fine tune the mindset of the creative space collectively. You know, like let's all move forward in thought and how we view our progress and ourselves, and don't just match. Like let's change, let's innovate, because that's legacy to me. You know,
comparing is pretty crippling too.
Oh, yeah.
Like looking at like. Because my following's not big. My
following.
following's not huge, and like, but you'll look at someone that you may think you're better than or whatever, and they have more followers, and you're like, shit, I'm never gonna get that many likes. But who gives a fuck? Like, like,
not even better than just like a better
like,
person. You know,
yeah,
sometimes you see people and you're like,
and
this
like,
guy's a fucking douchebag.
And so I think I went through that like last year a little bit, just like comparing too much. So that I try not to be on Instagram too much anymore, but. Just like that's so crippling into your own style too. Like you're your way. You do things your way because you're you, and like there's a backstory to everything.
Yeah, and if you don't spend time thinking about your uniqueness, you will just get lost in needing to keep up with the Joneses. You know? And
don't get lost in the
it's
sauce.
The sauce is sticky. It's dangerous.
I think a good way to look at it is. Always try to boil everything down and just be a fundamentalist about like whatever your craft is. Like, you know, if you're trying to do something that's along the same lines as somebody else, yeah, you might be able to like see a pose and be like, okay, I want to try to do something like that or whatever. But don't just, like you say, like kind of try to almost copy somebody.
Play to match.
Yeah. Be like, oh, I could do that better.
Yeah,
And
'cause, like,
then
what works for someone might not work for you.
yeah, and then you just end up almost like perpetuating this comparing kind of thing that you're doing.
There's one thing to be like inspired by,
Mm-hmm.
but like when you're trying to be that, it's like
Yeah, exactly.
it's obvious too. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, you do this just like this, or, you know,
It's never a good look. either.
Yeah, it's not.
Just like
And
I would rather work with someone that's being themselves, not someone
exactly.
who's like jocking me or jocking someone else.
Mhm.
Like, just do